All right, everybody. We have got some brand new good news coming in, fresh off the presses. Donald Trump is now in another legal trial. This is the hush money charges that he's gotten. I don't even know anymore, man. Like this guy's a professional criminal president. So at this point, I don't know what hush money charges these are. Are these to Stormy Daniels? Or are they hush money charges to someone else? I think it's the Stormy Daniels thing, right? I'm not super tuned in on this. We're about to get the scoop in a moment. But I can tell you is that Donald Trump's website has received an update as of yesterday in preparation for this trial. And mind you, by the way, Donald Trump's campaign is already spending like upwards of like $10,000 a day or something on Donald Trump's legal fees. It's actually insane. His campaign, Trump's campaign, the group that needs to spend money on ads and campaigning later in the year heavily to win the election. You know, that money that needs to go to that and not legal fees. Anyway, though, here's the website update we got, and it, like, genuinely, unironically looks like something you'd see pop up on your screen after, like, clicking on a sketchy porn link. You know what I mean? Look at this shit. This is Donald Trump's website in the background, and this is a pop-up that pops up when you try to leave the site. Trump, make America great again, 2024. Confidential memo from Trump. I'm trapped in court right now. Stand with Trump. Biden's corrupt court is holding me hostage yet again. I need to know while my name is being dragged. I can't read the rest of that, unfortunately, but then if you try to leave the page, this pops up and says, wait, before you go, and then the black and white photo of Trump pointing at the camera while sitting in a leather chair. No matter how many vicious lies and attacks they throw away, President Trump will never surrender our great country to the left's tyranny. But the Democrats will spend billions and billions of dollars to try and stop our movement. And we're counting on your support to finish what we started. Together, we will dismantle the deep state, win back the White House, and save America in 2024. Please consider contemplating your contribution today. Thank you. Complete my contribution. And of course, it's a donation link. You go and you donate to him to help him with his legal fees, because he needs money very badly. Please, he needs money. Guys, he needs money so much. He's our brokest boy. Anyway, yeah, Donald Trump might actually be getting, unironically, very scared when you consider how blatantly desperate his current donation farming methods are at this point. Like, the last time he came off as this desperate was when he lost the election and was sending out, like, mass texts to people, begging for them to support him as he tries to, like, overturn the election results. Do you remember that? When he sent out, like, a text to everybody, every American, to their phones asking for help to overturn the election results, asking for their support. Do you remember that? When he used the presidential text system to message us all, please help me overturn the election? Please support me in these trying times, like in the last month of his fucking presidency. I didn't know that. I got that message. Don't remember that? No? Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. Some people don't remember it. Some people do. I remember it. I'm in Canada. Okay, well, that makes sense. Okay, if you're Canadian, then that makes sense. Anyway, Trump hush money trial. Let's find out about it. What's going on?
All right, we are awaiting a decision from the judge in Donald Trump's New York criminal trial on whether the former president violated his gag order. Here's a live look inside the courthouse. The prosecution alleges the former president violated his gag order several times by speaking and posting about potential witnesses when he was instructed not to.
He does this every time! Just put him in handcuffs over it! How many times can he literally be in contempt of court, insulting the judge, insulting the judge's family, encouraging death threats and murder attempts on the judge and their families, and he just slides out of it like a greasy shit through a loose butthole? How does he keep getting away with it?
Asking for 10 posts from his account to be removed. Meanwhile, the defense says Trump did not believe his actions violated the gag order.
Well, CBS News national correspondent Errol Barnett is just outside of the courthouse now following the trial for us. And also, Jessica Levinson is here with some legal analysis. She's a CBS News legal contributor and a professor at Loyola Law School. So listen, Errol, we'll start with you. What more can you tell us about the judge's, well, the judge hasn't made a decision yet, so what more can you tell us about what's been unfolding in the court?
Yeah, Vlad and Anne-Marie,
I'm proud
great
of
to
that
connect
one.
with you again. There have been some fireworks this morning. The judge, Juan Merchan, has reserved a decision on this gag order, but we do expect an update on that imminently. So as soon as we have that, I'll share that with you. Effectively, the prosecution has argued that Donald Trump has violated the court's gag order some 10 times by way of his Truth Social posts. And they say those posts...
Okay. When does this become serious enough that it actually matters, though? Come on. This is like number 5 time this year Trump has like caused death threats to like the daughter of the judge presiding over his case, and it doesn't cause anything because the judges are like not wanting to look biased or too attached to the case. I wonder if that's why Trump does it. I wonder if Trump goes so over the top in these cases so that any action taken by the judge would look like the judge is operating on some sort of like personal or political basis. And that could hurt the judge's career in the future. And thus that's like the pressure he's attempting to leverage. Like, well, now that I've insulted you and your family, if you harshly judge me, it's going to look personal and unfair. At least that's what his fans will claim. And that'll be enough.
Have aimed to intimidate potential witnesses and jurors as well. As part of evidence, they point to a Trump Truth Social post from last week, which quotes a conservative commentator on cable news discussing prospective jurors. And they then connect the dot with a day last week where a woman who was a prospective juror said she couldn't serve, there was too much media pressure, and that her relatives had already identified her through the press. And so the prosecution is...
Oh, I think Trump lucked out big time, too. One of the jurors on this case, at least one, is like a huge Trump fan. I don't know how we found out who it was or whatever, but their social media got found, and they're like a QAnon poster. So at least one of the people on the jury of one of his trials. It may not be this one. I don't know if this one even has a jury, to be honest. But one of the trials that he has, the jury... Oh, no, they just said this one has a jury. What am I saying? One of the jury members is like a full-on QAnon Trump supporter. So that's... not great. Not great.
Saying that's just one example of how Donald Trump, as a defendant in this trial, is violating the gag order, which is meant to protect the procedure and to protect the people who are part of the process. When Donald Trump's lawyer stepped up to...
Dude, imagine trying to tell Donald Trump he's not allowed to yap.
Make his case, he argued that was not the case at all. Mr. Trump has a right to defend himself, but Judge Juan Merchan said, defend himself against what? Point me to the comments from these either jurors or prospective witnesses that the president is responding to, and Mr. Blanchard...
Yeah. Legal charges are not like a defamatory claim or allegation. They're legal charges. You can't try to claim you're just defending yourself when insulting and attacking the judge of your case. They're not making a baseless accusation against you. They're charging you legally.
Couldn't do that. He then went on to say that the judge to Mr. Blanche...
Well,
that he's
not even the judge. The prosecution is prosecuting Trump. The judge is just presiding over the case.
...in credibility. You know, the judge was raising his voice as he said that, and the judge then called for a short recess while he reserves decision. So in just this first few moments of today, it's Donald Trump seeming on his back foot with his legal team, unable to explain why he needs to make these types of comments about prospective witnesses like Michael Cohen or potential jurors.
So, Jessica, let's talk about...
Dude, I really wish that more people gave a fuck about all that shit that came out with Michael Cohen, or the shit that came out just generally with the whole, like, Russia stuff, the, like, exposés with, like, Stormy Daniels. I feel like all of that getting chalked up by the average American as a nothing burger is the perfect example of, like, if a scandal is just too complicated, no one will give a fuck. It's just that simple. They'll pretend it never happened if it's too complicated to understand and be outraged about. In like a concise and snappy way. And so because there was no like convenient conviction that you could point to outside of like Trump had fall guys on his campaign that took the convictions with the whole Russia thing, for example, because Trump himself didn't end up behind bars, it's viewed as a nothing burger, despite the fact that like Trump's campaign guys went to prison because they did collude with Russia to get Trump the presidency. There was just no confirmable evidence that Trump knew what they were doing. He totally just didn't know that they were, breaking the law behind the scenes, risking their entire futures to get him elected. They were just that good of campaign guys. They were just such big bros. They were willing to go to federal prison for Donald Trump to get him elected by colluding with foreign nations. They were just such good friends of his. They were willing to take that fall for him. He didn't even know that they were doing it for him, guys. He didn't even know. He didn't even know that they were working that all out. He didn't know. They were just such good guys. They did it all behind his back. They won him the election, They were such good friends of his. They didn't even know. He was just a little birthday boy, and they got him a present.
What we heard in the courroom. I mean, what do you make of these? I don't think you're supposed to be that annoying to the judge this early on.
And this is a judge. I mean, a few of us.
He's done this 4 times. Why are we pretending to be surprised at this point? If there's going to be another Trump trial, he's going to insult the judge and the judge's family, too. If the judge has, close family, kids, anything like that, they're definitely on the chopping block for Trump's insults on Truth Social. Why are we pretending like this is surprising anymore? Donald Trump is, either self-destructing or actually playing 4D chess and, knows that if he's so antagonistic to a point, the judge might go easier just not to look biased, He might unironically be trying to play that game of 4D chess, or he's just that much of a loudmouth. I can't tell you.
Us have ever been standing before a judge. I never have, really, I don't think. But I just can't imagine any kind of belligerence or anything when it comes to a judge sitting on a bench.
So it is really extraordinary. I think Errol in his excellent reporting used the word fireworks. You never want to be here, at least if your goal is to try to not annoy the judge. And if your goal, however, is not to argue to the audience in the courtroom, but to argue to the audience outside the courtroom, then maybe what's happening isn't quite as bad for the former president. So I think we need to kind of separate the legal from the political here. Legally, he is a criminal defendant inside.
I think this is Trump recognizing how successful he is a persecuted truth teller is narrative, right? Most people have an inherent distrust of the law and the government, and so he can frame how much legal trouble he's in as the establishment trying to stop him because he's so close to fixing everything. And unfortunately, that strategy is one of Trump's most popular rhetoric strategies in regards to his approval rating going up and whatnot in the wake of that.
Inside a courtroom with a judge, and as I said, you never want to have the judge say something to your attorney like, you are losing credibility. That's just another way of saying, I don't trust you. Where's your precedent? Where's your facts? There really was no, as far as we can see from the reporting, facts or law to...
Trump and facts? Dog, there's a famous site that counts up every lie Trump tells. It's in the tens of thousands now. Every lie he's told since 2016. With the verifiable quote and evidence that he lied and wasn't just wrong about it, but lied. Let's see if we can find the Trump lie counter. Trump lie counter. All right, what? Here it is. This is from 2021. Trump's false or misleading claims total 30,573 over 4 years. So that was 2021. In 4 years, the lies and misleading claims totaled at least 30,573 on public platforms in a span of 4 years. I'm surprised you can even say 30,573 things in 4 years, much less tell 30,473 lies in that amount of time.
Back up what they were arguing in saying that Trump didn't violate the gag order. Now, there's a separate question here.
Yeah, it might actually be more efficient to just make a Trump truth counter, to count up every time Trump says the truth.
As to whether or not, if Trump violates the gag order and is then fined for that, that is actually a political win for him. And I know this sounds strange.
She's completely right. She's completely right.
But every time the former president gets a gag order, because he did in another case as well out of New York, and is found to violate that gag order, he uses it, as a talking point to argue that these trials are just about trying to silence him, that the prosecutors are all just on a political witch hunt, and there's no there. So I think that we see kind of a two.
I could literally be a CBS News correspondent, dude. She said exactly what the fuck I just said. The fact is, if you look at the data in concordance with Trump's claims and rhetoric, when Trump gets a gag order or legal charges like this, or even the impeachment, he plays the persecuted victim card, and it causes his approval rating to jump. It works. People have an inherent distrust of the establishment, and Trump is really good at making it look like anytime he faces consequences for his actions, that it's the establishment trying to put him down. And when he says that, people believe it. She's right.
Two-pronged attack. So one is what's happening in the courtroom. Errol said he's starting the day on his back foot. I think that's exactly right. One is outside the courtroom. Arguably, this might play very well with his supporters.
So can I just bring up what it seems like? This is based on some of our reporters that are in the courtroom kind of.
You got to remember as well, like, this is a kind of an old meme, but Donald Trump fans proudly called themselves deplorables. They know that they're deplorable people, and they kind of revel in the fact that, like, uptight, goody two-shoes Hillary Clinton called them that. It's like they want to be bad. They want to be feared and like, talked about like they're a dangerous force. They want to feel like they matter and have attention. A lot of these people. And that's a lot of what motivates these people. They're part of something. Not just part of something, but part of something that has to be talked about, that can't be ignored, that you have to give attention to. And I think a lot of people on the left discredit how much of conservative politics is just fishing for a reaction.
Live giving us updates as we go along. But so it seems like the two arguments from his attorneys are, one, it was a repost. We're talking about reposts, so that doesn't really count. And the judge was like, well, some of them, he was quoting. He had to literally type tab or shift and then quotation marks,
right.
But you had to put the effort in. And then also that he had been politically attacked. And when the judge sort of asked, well, give me a recent example, he wasn't able to. But the points are, these are.
Asking a Trump supporter or Trump himself for an example of a thing that they've claimed happens? Is it your first day? It must be her first day.
Repost, how was he supposed to know this was a violation? And when you're being politically attacked or being attacked, what are you supposed to do? Do either of those arguments hold any legal weight?
So I will say I don't think they're the legal arguments that you want to be making inside a courtroom if your goal is to have the judge say you did not violate the gag order. Now, having said that, I'm not saying that the judge is going to come back in 30 seconds and say every one of these posts or reposts violated the gag order. One thing that you asked, and this is so interesting and important, we don't have a ton of case law about social media and, frankly, fill in the blank. Privacy rights, First Amendment rights, gag orders, because that is still technology that's developing and the law is trying to keep up with that. Having said that, I think what...
Yay, Donald Trump is using legal loopholes because our legal system doesn't understand cell phones and the internet. Yay! Boomers running our government fucks over justice once again. Dab on justice. Let's go. America.
What we heard from the judge is that the former president had to take explicit steps, even if it's just a repost, to put that content on his page. And I don't hear from the reporting the judge saying, oh, well, there's something fundamentally different about typing out a post or partially typing out a post and a repost. Now, this is, again, developing. Is a like on Facebook or a love on Instagram the same as actually uttering those words or publishing that particular picture? These are questions that we need to answer, but I'm not sure.
Yes, typing a thing out and posting it on social media is the same as saying it. I believe that if Donald Trump, if somebody tweets that they are going to kill Donald Trump when he was president, they would get a knock on their door, because publicly tweeting that they plan to commit a crime is not protected by the First Amendment. So why is it that even saying you would or might do a thing violent to him, that's immediately, you're going to get a knock at your door if you post something like that, for sure. Even in America, you're going to get a knock at your door for that. That's just how it works. And you should. You should, to be fair. You absolutely should. But for some reason, if Donald Trump does the equivalent, pretty much, calling for violence, breaking the law, doing what is essentially literally is breaking the law when you say it, but if it's posted online, all of a sudden it's exempt because it's different. I feel like there's maybe a double standard here. I think she said, is liking someone else saying something the same as saying/typing it yourself, that's also an interesting question, you know? Like, is liking or retweeting a post, like, does that mean you have basically said it? Because you're retweeting it, like, you're posting it on your platform for, like, people to see that you agree with it, right? It almost seems like if it's not considered saying it, it could be such an obvious loophole to just basically say a thing that you're not allowed to say, but not have any way of, like, legislating against it. Like, for example, let's look at, like, another legal situation. Like, if somebody takes out a restraining order against another person, if they get a temporary restraining order issued, I know about this shit from experience. If you remember, I had, like, a crazy person try to, like, sue me and get a restraining order because I talked about them on stream and, like, rape allegations they got. Like, if they get, like, issued a temporary restraining order, it's just immediately illegal to talk about that person as the person who has the restraining order against them. And that's just issued by default. So that includes posts online. But would that mean, by this standard, assuming we guess that liking and reposting tweets or posts is not the same as saying it, would that mean that, like, that person would be allowed to like and retweet posts from people talking about that person that had, like, that with the restraining order? That wouldn't make sense, though. That you'd essentially, what's the point of having a restraining order? They can still express those opinions about that person. Like, I feel like this loophole needs to be closed big time. Not just because of Trump, but because there's, like, a million other far more common legal things that can happen, that if we're not accounting for other forms of internet engagement as speech when it comes to legality, it's literally ridiculous. Like, you might as well not legislate against it at all.
When it comes to a gag order, and let's remember why it was imposed, because this judge wants to protect the proceedings. Errol talked about this. He wants to protect the jurors, the prosecutors, the court staff. I'm not sure that just saying I only reposted is really going to be a winning argument here when that content still shows.
Let's fucking hope so, guys. Let's fucking hope so.
Shows up on his social media page.
So, Jessica, tension seemed already high between the former president's legal team and the judge. I mean, this is the start of the trial. We're not even into the nitty-gritty yet. What does this dynamic mean in the days and weeks ahead?
Well, you just don't want to be here where you have a judge saying, I'm not really trusting you. Now, having said that, there's a difference between a judge saying you're losing me and losing the jurors. And the jurors are the fact finders here. And what we have in Judge Merchan, all indications are, is a very professional judge who I think would not allow his particular views on, for instance, the gag order arguments to bleed over and for him to show the jurors what his views are of.
Yeah, it's been every judge Trump gets. They're so high road. They, like, no matter how much Trump steps out of line, they're like, nope, we're going to take the high road. Trump is going to get a slap on the wrist no matter how rude he is, no matter how much he demonstrates. He has no remorse for any of his legal law breaking, because if we don't give him nothing but a slap on the wrist, then he'll have grounds to say that we're biased against him, and it'll make our lives hell. He'll have a lot of them might be afraid that they'll have a lifetime of death threats and murder attempts from Trump fans if they're the one to put Trump away. Think about that. The judge that's the one to put Trump away will be signing up for a lifetime of death threats and murder attempts, assassination attempts. Guaranteed. If a judge puts Trump away, I would be surprised if that judge is able to go a year without some psycho trying to, like, car bomb them or something. I would be astonished. Happy, but astonished if that did not happen within a year of a judge putting Trump away behind bars for real. Like, for real. For, like, real time, too. At least for an old man like Trump, real time. I don't know. I'm really curious what you guys think about this whole situation. Do you think this is really going to hurt Trump all that much? I genuinely think it will. Regardless of how much of a slap on the wrist it is, I feel like Trump's kind of dying of a death of 1,000 cuts, or I guess slaps on the wrist at this point, where, like, even pittances of punishment are now adding up, piling up, due to nothing but sheer scale. And at this point, I genuinely wonder if Trump is going to be able to afford to run for president. I mean, obviously, you can run for president on a $5 budget, but like, and everyone knows who Trump is. He's got pretty much maximum market saturation, but like, politics is not a matter of like making someone know who you are and then they support you, and that is a solid position they hold forever. Maybe for Trump, with a fair bit of his fan base, that's the case, and that's a rare scenario. For the most part, approval ratings for presidents, Biden, Obama, Trump, Clinton, Bush, they go up and down constantly based on what the media is saying and based on what that president is saying and whether or not it sounds good to people and how it's being spun. And so for Donald Trump, if he just doesn't have the money to get in front of enough people all the time to keep swinging people's opinions on him spiked into the positive more often, that could be enough to send him on a general downward trajectory of approval that he just doesn't have a chance, legitimately. Regardless, I'm really curious to see what you guys think, so comment down below. I like reading your comments and hearing what you guys think about these situations. And, of course, your comments also boost my channel a whole hell of a lot, so I really do appreciate it when you guys drop your support. Really helps a lot. The engagement means a lot. You can also engage with my content and thus boost it in the algorithm against YouTube's will, basically forcing them to make people based by putting my content in their recommended. You can hit that like button. Every single thumbs up goes a really long way, whether you're watching right now live on my live stream, hitting the like button helps a lot. Whether you're watching this as a VOD after I've ended the stream, hitting like helps a lot. Or if you're watching this as a video when it goes out on its own. I really do appreciate all of you for watching, seriously. You guys are so kind, so based, and I hope you enjoyed.